The Kyle Larson penalty creates confusion. There's a new number 1 in my weekly power rankings, and let's discuss the latest on Erik Jones. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. In case you missed it, I'll put a link right up here. Last night, I uploaded my Talladega race recap and analysis. We broke down the finish, addressed the fuel mileage racing controversy, and so much more. Go check it out if you missed it. One late-breaking topic we didn't discuss is Erik Jones. In the second half of yesterday's race, Erik Jones was involved in this scary crash head-on into the Turn 3 Talladega safer barrier. Just after the wreck over the team radio, Jones was complaining, it sounded like, about his back. He was able to get out of the car, walk away under his own power. He was checked and released from the infield care center in a fairly short period of time. He was walking around doing interviews with TV, with the media, said, quote, "I'm sore, just really stretched my back out a lot. It'll be a long week just getting recovered and feeling better, but I'm all right." The race ended, Fox went off the air. Shortly afterwards, reportedly, Erik Jones went back to the infield care center and was then transported to a local hospital for further evaluation. His race team, Legacy Motor Club, released this statement late last night. Following a crash at Talladega Superspeedway in Sunday's Geico 500, Erik Jones was transported to UAB University Hospital in Birmingham, Alabama. As of 11:30 p.m. Central Time, Jones was evaluated, released, and will return home to North Carolina this evening. No additional details have been given at this time, but all things considered, this is great news to hear. When the crash initially happened, my jaw hit the floor. We know how tough these next-gen cars are. The front of that 43 was demolished. Now, our attention shifts towards the immediate future. Again, we don't have many details at this time, so I hate to speculate, but we know how serious back injuries can be. Alex Bowman missed some time last year. Go back a decade, Denny Hamlin missed a huge chunk of the season. Back injuries are serious. They can linger. They can affect your ability to feel and drive a race car. Again, want to be clear, we do not know Erik Jones' condition, but I've seen a lot of fans asking about contingency plans. What happens if he can't race next weekend at Dover? The answer is easy. Corey Heim would be the substitute driver. This past offseason, Heim signed a deal to become not only the sim driver for Legacy Motor Club, but also the team's reserve driver. He's also the reserve driver for 2311. The Truck Series does not race at Dover this weekend, so Heim's schedule should be open should his services be needed. Hopefully, he's able to enjoy his off weekend. Hopefully, Erik Jones is able to get back close to 100% by this coming weekend. Hopefully, he's back behind the wheel of the number 43, but just wanted to give you guys an update and then discuss the likely contingency plan should Erik Jones not be able to go this weekend. Pulling for Erik Jones, though, he's 20th in points. Would like to see him, continue to wheel that 43. They've got a real shot at making the playoffs, either with a win or even potentially on points. So hopefully any injuries he may have sustained at Talladega are not serious. Wishing him nothing but the best. Before we get to my weekly power rankings, and I've made some pretty significant changes this time around, you'll want to stay tuned. Let's touch on the confusing Kyle Larson penalty. So this past weekend, Saturday afternoon, Kyle Larson was not allowed to qualify at Talladega. NASCAR reportedly saw a crew member with their hand on the roof rails. NASCAR didn't like it. They hit the 5 team with an unapproved adjustments penalty. They ejected the car chief, would not allow the team to qualify, and later on decided to force the 5 team to serve a pass-through penalty at the start of Sunday's race. Larson served that penalty yesterday, but if you watch the race, you'll know that he got back on the lead lap eventually and actually earned stage points in stage 2. NASCAR made it clear this weekend that no further penalties are to be expected for Kyle Larson, and this is where fans got a bit confused, or they started to raise their eyebrows at least, because just a few weeks ago, Ryan Preece and Noah Gragson were docked 35 points each for their own roof rail related infractions. So why the difference between the Stewart-Haas and Hendrick Motorsport penalties? Well, if we go back a few weeks, Elton Sawyer, NASCAR VP of Competition, explained that the Stewart-Haas roof rails were not designed properly, did not meet proper specifications. They didn't even make it to inspection. By contrast, the Kyle Larson roof rails were legal. They passed inspection. It was on their way to pit road, to the grid, when NASCAR saw a crew member, I suppose, touching him, manhandling them. So that's the difference. You can argue which one is worse. It sounds like Stewart-Haas designed the illegal parts at their shop and NASCAR caught them, whereas in Hendrick Motorsports' case, the part was legal, passed inspection. They were just, trying to do something sneakily when nobody was watching. Again, I guess you could argue which is worse, which is more blatant. It sounds to me like more effort was put into designing the illegal Stewart-Haas roof rails. That's just my opinion. But I'm not sure exactly what Hendrick did, so it's still a bit confusing, but I wanted to explain at least the differences. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Hopefully this somewhat clears things up. Start of a new week, which means it's time for a new edition of my weekly Out of the Groove Power Rankings, where I rank the 10 fastest overall drivers and teams in the NASCAR Cup Series right now. Lots of interesting names scored good finishes on Sunday, like Noah Gragson getting his first top 5 of the year. Anthony Alfredo scored a 6th. Will be interesting to see how this affects my leaderboard. I don't have Ty Gibbs in my top 10 anymore. I still think this team could strike at any moment, but 4 straight finishes outside the top 10? I'm sorry. And one more honorable mention is Alex Bowman. He's got 4 top 5s this year. That's part of a 6-way tie for most in the series. Problem is he's only led 6 laps. I really want to put Alex Bowman in my top 10. He's just not quite there yet. At number 10, I have Brad Keselowski. Hear me out. 4 top 5s in his past 7 races, back-to-back runner-ups. Great team execution at Texas, when to put on tires, when to take advantage of track position. Brad Keselowski has the same number of top 5s as Alex Bowman, and like Bowman, hasn't led many laps. Bowman is actually a few positions better in points, but I'm giving Brad Keselowski the 10 spot because of back-to-back seconds, and because we have to remember Brad Keselowski is trying to recover from a slow start to the year. He crashed out of both Daytona and Atlanta. Both cases he was caught up in wrecks that weren't his fault. In fact, at Daytona, it was Bowman and Byron who caused the big wreck that took Brad out when he was racing for the lead. It's really close, but that's why I'm giving Brad Keselowski the slight edge. Give me BK at 10. At number 9, Christopher Bell. He had a red hot streak there for about a month, included a win at Phoenix, leading a bunch of laps. But now, Bell has had 3 rough races in a row. Terrible weekend at Martinsville. Texas, he wrecked himself, but his team persevered, still had a pretty decent points day. And then another wreck at Talladega, this one really not his fault. Some bad brakes, some bad execution. I still buy this team's speed. JGR is one of the 2 fastest teams in the Cup Series garage. Bell has multiple stage wins. I'm buying the overall speed. I'm confident the results will improve shortly. At number 8, I'll go Ross Chastain. Look, he would have 9 straight top 15 finishes if he hadn't wrecked on the last lap at Texas running second. Despite that hit in the points, he's still 9th in the standings. And I really like how these next few tracks shape up for Ross. He's good at Dover, team should be really fast at Kansas, Darlington, he's usually in the mix. Lots of 12th, 13th, 14th place runs lately. Let's turn some of those into top 5s. I think Chastain can do it. Chastain at 8. At number 7, I'll keep Ryan Blaney in this spot. Look, I hardly saw Ryan Blaney all day yesterday, which is shocking considering he finished 1st and 2nd at Talladega the 2 trips last year. Blaney led 1 lap all day yesterday. What? As you'll see with my next few rankings here, I'm not going to overreact to one super speedway race. Blaney does have 4 top 5s this year, which means he's a part of that 6-way tie for the series lead. And he's also been the strongest Ford overall this year, so I'll cut him some slack. I'm keeping the defending champion at 7. At number 6, Chase Elliott. Now you'll have to allow me to defend myself here. Let's take Talladega out of the equation. Still finished 15th, not a bad day by any means. The 3 weeks leading up to Talladega, 5th, 3rd, 1st. I've liked the trajectory Elliott's been on. He still has, what, a 10.8 average finish on the season? That's fantastic. Chase Elliott is very consistent. I love that. But again, this list is also about who's the fastest overall. And that's why I still have Denny Hamlin 1 spot ahead in the 5 spot. Even though I know Denny's finished 30th or worse back-to-back races, he did wreck while racing for the lead at Texas and was probably on the winning strategy at Talladega when he got caught up in someone else's mess. But while Denny Hamlin has not been as consistent as Chase Elliott this year, not even close, he does have 2 wins, and he's led 3 times as many laps. The highs are very high with Denny Hamlin. He's one of only 2 drivers with multiple wins this season. He's got 3 again if you include the Clash. If I need a top 5, I'm picking Chase Elliott, but if I need a win, I'm more likely to pick Denny Hamlin, generally speaking at least. So I've got Denny Hamlin at 5, and I've got his teammate Martin Truex Jr. in the 4 spot. Still winless, I know, but he's got a 10.0 average finish. He's 2nd in the standings, and he's even got a 12.6 average finish at the 3 super speedways this year. That's pretty darn good for Martin Truex. An 11th place run yesterday. Led some laps. I've dropped him 1 spot though, as you can see, because this is his 3rd straight finish outside the top 10. Especially when you consider his Toyota teammate just scored their first win of the season at number 3. This might be an overreaction, but I've got Tyler Reddick. I think Tyler Reddick is going to be a popular championship pick later this summer. Like obviously Byron, Larson at this rate will probably be the favorites, but I think Tyler Reddick will get some fun outside the box votes. The 45 is red hot. 5 straight top 10 finishes. Now he's got a win. He's up to 5th in the regular season standings, and he's tied with William Byron for the most top 10 finishes all season. I hesitate a little because of the issues on pit road we've seen this year, but hey, the pit crew was fine at Talladega, partially because half the pit stops, I guess, were fuel only. I've had Tyler Reddick in the top 5 or 6 pretty much all year. Finally has that victory. Good for him. Again, I think he will be a popular sort of dark horse championship pick in a few months, the rate things are going. My top 2 might cause some controversy. I had to flip him this week, which I realize might not make a lot of sense at first. William Byron comes in at number 2. He's been fantastic this year. 3 wins, smooth, steady, consistent. Even Talladega, hardly saw him all day, got a top 10 at the end of the race. Again, he's tied for the most top 10s of the year. He's been fantastic. But my number 1 spot goes to Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson is still the points leader. He's led the most laps by far. He has more than double the stage wins of anyone else. A couple of stats that jumped out at me this morning. William Byron's average finish is 2 positions better than Larson. He also has 2 more wins than Larson. Yet Byron is 24 points behind Larson in the standings. How is that possible? Well, that's because Kyle Larson has earned 110 stage points. Nobody else has more than 77. Byron has less than half. He's got 50. We saw a great example this past weekend. Larson has to serve that pass through. He's a lap down in stage 1. Still came back to earn 8 stage points in stage 2. We talk all the time about William Byron not making mistakes. He's there at the end, always gets a good finish. But I think Kyle Larson right now has more overall speed. Sure, he'll overstep sometimes and make a mistake late, but if he's winning stages beforehand, earning all those points in the middle section of the races, then it doesn't really matter. I guess it'll matter at Phoenix, but the first 9 races of the playoffs, I mean, again, Larson's leading the regular season standings. This boom or bust philosophy is working for him. I saw the light this morning. I think I understand now. Kyle Larson is in the number 1 spot, at least for the time being. There you go. Some dramatic changes on my list this week. I know there'll be some controversy. Let me know down in the comments below if you agree or disagree with my rankings. That was a fun one. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. We talk NASCAR every single day. You won't want to miss an episode. And a huge thank you to my very generous Patreon supporters as always. I will see you all again tomorrow. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday.